early 90s, mid 90s, there was no entourage, so we didn't know about agents and, and managers and, studio executives and all that sort of stuff. So I actually grew up wanting to be a journalist. And I went to Columbia University as an undergrad, and I did a lot of broadcast and print journalism work. And this was around the time, where blogs started to become pretty prevalent. And I don't think this journalism thing is the future for me. So, luckily, Columbia was it's like a Wall Street feeder. A lot of people go work in finance. So it was the easiest thing to do. I got into business consulting, and I was fortunate enough to get to travel with that for a little bit. And after I graduated, I was working on Wall Street, and I was at a cocktail party in Manhattan, just talking to a guy, and we were talking for like an hour. And at the end of our conversation, he's like, "Well, have you ever thought about working in Hollywood?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." And he said, "Well, I work at an agency called CAA. If you ever want to switch careers, we have an internship program. It'll acclimate you to the agency. You can understand what we're about. Just stay in touch with me if you're interested." And at the time, I was ready to switch careers anyway. So I took him up on the offer. And when I got to the agency, they placed me in the sports consulting division, which was a good fit for me because I was coming from working in consulting, and I'm a huge sports fan. And what that division did and does still is connects Fortune 500 companies with the world of sports and entertainment. So putting together events like the X Games, or bringing over top European soccer clubs to play against MLS teams or stuff like that, and getting a corporate sponsor to back that sort of stuff. So it was fun. What I quickly realized being in the building was that, all of my previous work experience, whether it was journalism or consulting, what I enjoyed about that sort of stuff was the interpersonal aspect of it, providing counsel to people, strategizing, brainstorming with clients, just talking to people and connecting with people and building cool stuff together. And when I did the internship at CAA, I realized that representation in Hollywood is just that interpersonal communication at its core. After my internship, I got a full-time offer. I took the offer and moved out to LA. And I worked at the agency for less than a year. When you intern someplace and you don't have any other work experience, it's easy to sip that Kool-Aid and think that that's the only place in town. You don't know about management companies and studios and networks and other agencies. On a whim, a friend told me about this company called Generate. It was a fairly young company at the time. It's about 3 years old. And that company was founded by the former head of the WB network. Jordan Levin was a prolific network head. He's a really smart guy. And he ran the WB during like their golden years when they had the shows like Smallville, Dawson's Creek, Seventh Heaven, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, etc. And Jordan started the company with 3 or 4 partners. And when I went over there to take a meeting, I fell in love with the energy. Like Kanye West was blasting the speakers and had a Pac-Man machine. This is a cool place. People were like, it was buzzing. So I ended up taking a job there in their talent department as an assistant. And I took the job because I felt like I was getting in on the ground floor of something cool, and I could probably get promoted quickly. And that's exactly what happened. So I worked there for 3 years, and earlier this summer, I left there. My partner and I raised the financing, and we launched our own management production company called The Mission. And we're 3 months in now. We moved into our office a little over a month ago. We're in West Hollywood, and life's never been better.
The panel is here for you guys to sort of figure out what is it that you think you don't know that maybe we do know, or that we have a different angle on that you guys would want us to shed light on. So, you know, if there's any questions, just to sort of open it up, you know, let it be kind of your guys' questions to us, and when there aren't questions, you know, obviously we can come up with stuff that's, you know, on our minds as well.
Do you think it's stronger to focus into web and pilot for television?
Can I just start? I mean, what do you want to do? You want to be a creator? You want to be a writer? You want to be a director?
Yeah, a writer.
So, one of my favorite ways to answer this is it's all about your definition of success. Is success that you've grown up wanting to make a movie your whole life? Well, it doesn't matter if the movie business is doing worse or doing better. Like, seeing a movie on screen is the definition of success. And it doesn't have to come out through Warner Brothers. It doesn't have to come out through, you know, it doesn't have to win an award. Like, if you see your movie up on a big screen, that might be the definition of success. On the flip side, if it's like, look, I'd like to have a movie get made, but I want to earn a living, I want to like make money, I want this to be like a lucrative career. It depends what kind of movies, you know. If you're someone who is making a certain type of genre that is not popular right now, yes. Might it be hard to get that movie made? Sure. But like, I will say just for myself, I think it is a crutch, and I think it is an easy way out to say that the movie business is hard. I'm gonna give up, I'm just gonna go into TV, or I'm just gonna go into web search, or I'm gonna go do something else. Like, if you wanna make movies, go make movies. That's what I say to all my clients, and we're making a lot of movies. This is, every year we've had more movies come out than ever, so we think the movie business is doing really well.
When you're writing something, you often have to think about it from, like, as a producer would think about it, right? So if you're writing movies, write films that fall under the umbrella of, okay, this can get made conceivably, right? You know the town, know what producers you may want to partner with, senior level producers, and say, okay, I'm going to write to their sensibilities, or keep it under a certain budget. You know, don't write something that's going to cost $30 million to make. You have no pedigree in the film like space. You know what I mean? So just write intelligently and write what's coming from your heart. And raising financing for a film that's not too expensive isn't as hard as you think it is. It just has to be well written and well executed, and producers and financiers have to get it. So write from the lens of a producer.
There's a difference between writing something to sell it, writing something to move your career forward, or writing something to get made. We have multiple scripts, multiple scripts that have no chance of getting made. No chance. But again, definition of success, were they unsuccessful because they didn't get made? God, no. I can point to a bunch of examples where someone wrote a script that a lot of people would go, you're an idiot, like that is never gonna get made, but that wasn't the definition of success, that wasn't the intent on that script. There's one that we have where the guy got a huge comic book reboot movie that's like one of the hottest jobs in town off of a script that has no chance of getting made. So people could look at that script and go, oh man, what a failure. Like, he wrote this script all that time and like he didn't even sell it. Well, sure, that's one way to look at it. But again, this was the reason that I really wanted to go into management, was like, if I worked on that script, I don't get to do anything. But I'm working with this guy, and this guy now has a career ahead of him. Every script that you write is about, whether this one gets made or not, what is this script going to do for me?
One of the main ways I find new clients, I watch and I read everything, and not just like what's on HBO or Showtime. Like, I like going to plays. When I'm on Facebook, I'm clicking links that friends all over the world are posted. Like, hey, check out this short my friend did, or look at this, cool blog post a friend wrote on Huffington Post, right? And if I respond to whatever that person's creative talent is, whether it's their voice or their acting ability, their comedic ability, I go to open mics and just hang out, grab a beer and just watch people, do stand up. People who nobody's heard of, right? So if you're a writer, submitting cold submissions to agencies and management companies isn't the best way to expose yourself. Do something where there's no barrier to entry, right? Write a web series, get a friend, shoot it, and put it on YouTube, and then send it out to all your friends and say, hey, check this out. Post this on your Twitter feed. Post this on your Facebook. And somebody's gonna find it. Write a play. There's plenty of theaters in LA that are putting up, plays for free. And people are going and checking them out. So if you're talented, think outside of the box. Because there's a reason agencies don't take client submissions. It's because they're legally liable if there is some copyright infringement. So someone could say, hey, I submitted this, say a film like, what's a big film? Interstellar. It's Christopher Nolan film that's coming out. Say you sent WME a script that was very similar, and they accepted your submission, and then months later their client put out a film that was similar to the script you submitted. You could sue them for taking your idea. So when agencies and management companies say, hey, we're not taking these submissions, it's to protect themselves legally. It's not a malicious sort of thing. So I would say, think outside the box and find an organic way to expose yourself to the people who want to see your work.
I am a true believer that talent will get discovered. That dream rises to the top, talent will get discovered. You can't send something and wait. I look at very, very few just kind of random things that come in. And I'm thinking of a good example because I just read a script literally, not last night, the night before, that was a completely blind submission. And it's all about your sales. It's all about your sales pitch. This guy was able, I didn't sign him. This guy was able to convince me through the email that I had to stop what I was doing to read this script. He did. Damn good job.
How do you do it?
Well, again, this is one of my favorite parts of the conversation is it is hard to convince someone when you haven't done anything, like, check out my script. And what a lot of people will do is they'll say, like, hey, you gotta check out my script. There's like all these like reps reaching out to me. There's like producer interest. And I usually go like, oh, cool, yeah. Well, then just go with them. Oh, no, yeah, no, I want you to read it though. Like, well, are you bluffing? Because I just called your bluff. Like, don't tell me that I have to get on something because like all these other people like it. Because usually I'm gonna call that bluff. And I don't like being lied to. That said, certain people can kind of toe that line really well, and this guy seemed to have enough momentum on his script. I saw it in my email box. He had emailed me multiple times, and he had momentum on his script where some people were intrigued by it, and I liked the concept. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna give this thing at least 20, 30 pages to see what I think of this thing. You gotta continue putting irons in the fire. You gotta continue to get things going, because suddenly if I get an email from someone who I thought that the log line or I thought something about it was kind of intriguing, I just never ended up getting to it. I might get another email from that person that's like, hey, no worries if you never got to it. That's also a hugely important thing, is knowing how to have manners and not be like, yo, you never got back to me, what's up? Like, that never goes well. But like when someone sends an email that's really polite, it's like, hey, no worries if you never got to read it. I know things are probably really busy. By the way, here's the script again. Just FYI, I actually just had this web series come out, which is doing really well, which is really exciting for me. Starting to talk to people about that. Anyways, a few different things going on. If you ever get a chance, I'd love to hear back from you. So it's a little bit of kind of playing the game, but also continuing to put irons in the fire on multiple things. And hopefully at some point, you got a few things that are sort of working together, and someone's like, man, I keep hearing this guy's name. Like, something good is happening with this person. I gotta know this person. But one of my favorite things to do is when someone sends me a blind submission, I almost always, if I like the query or something about it, if I got a chance to read it, I always say, just out of curiosity, why me? Why'd you send it to me? And the amount of times that people are like, yeah, I just really like what you do.
Who else did you send it to?
Yeah. And I'm just like, what do I do that you, what do I do that you like? I don't know, you represent people. Like, and then sometimes someone will be like, actually, I'm a huge fan of your client, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, this dude did the research. Okay, he came after me. That's interesting. That makes me feel a little bit more intrigued to read.
Hi, my name is Lena. I'm an actor from Canada, but I'm here with the first short film that I wrote and directed. So I've got talent representation. So just to feed off of what you guys are saying, are you each individually looking for different genres? And does it say so on everybody's website? Are you looking for what's, as far as why are you targeting one person over another, and where you, it's all research for what's going to be the right fit for you, obviously, but I'm just wondering if different, I guess it's sort of obvious, different companies must be looking for certain types of work, whether it's, or no, am I wrong?
I don't.
I'm not, no.
Oh, really? Okay. So all across the board, whatever you like, that's it.
For me, yes, actually.
Really?
I'm not that calculated.
Yeah.
This isn't 1983, like, the people I like working with, I always say I want to work with creators and brands. Now, when I say creator, you could be a blogger who has really cool content on your site, and I can identify ways to monetize that, whether it's via merchandise or licensing deals or something that's more businessy and not traditional media based. People always say, who's one person you would love to rep? I would love to rep Ben Affleck, because he's an A-list director. His acting is polarizing. I love his acting. He's an A-list. He's playing Batman. He's an A-list actor, right? That's the sort of client. The possibilities are endless there, right? So it's a lot of what we do, and I'm sure this is true for you too, Josh, is instinctual. Like all we're selling to our clients is our relationships, our charisma, our charm, our intellect, our patience, our empathy, our business acumen. These aren't tangible things.
Right.
And your instincts are at the core of that. So when I say an actor or read something, I'm just going off my gut.
Yeah.
It's not, I think if you try to, make it really quantitative or mathematical, you're setting yourself up for failure. Also, one of the main things, and I think for any good representative, more so, especially managers, you can't just sign a bunch of people. Like, time is a commodity. Like, your time is a commodity as a rep, their time as a human being is a commodity. You don't want to spread yourself thin. I don't have the bandwidth to represent 50 people. So if I'm going to work with somebody, it's going to be someone who really resonated with me, someone who I really think is special. Because I value my time. I don't take a shotgun approach and just throw a bunch of stuff against the wall and see what sticks. I'm very specific business-wise, very strategic business-wise. So when people are saying, "Oh, you should sign my friend," or "Hey, can we meet?" Like, I might take a meeting, but if I don't sign someone, it's no hard feelings. It's just that I didn't feel like I was going to do the relationship justice. It's rare for. There's a reason you don't often see or ever see like, hey, this film presented by Nike. Like, Nike's not Warner Brothers. Nike's not Sony. You know what I mean? So I think had financing been in place, or had you already shot the film and you got a finished product, you can take them and say, hey, check out this film. I think there's a lot of synergy here between your brand and our project. And they watched it and responded to it. They say, hey, here's some X amount of marketing dollars. We would love to partner with you.
So that's where it comes, as it's afterwards as the marketing, as opposed to product placement, which again I know is a sort of expression that's a catch-all for, James Bond is holding a Heineken instead of a martini. And,
Right.
the story there is that Heineken, and Jaguar financed a huge part of that James Bond film.
No, but MGM financed the James Bond film, and Heineken partnered to be cool with a film that was already going to go. For example, I'm producing a film now that's very cool. It's about an artist who occupies the high class circles in New York City and Paris, and we have all of our money. We're going into production in a couple of weeks, and we were able to attach Jay-Z's cognac brand, Douce. It's like the official partner, and they're providing product for the film. And then when we finish the film, we're doing tastemaker screenings, or if we get into Sundance, there'll be Douce hospitality suites. But that's only because we had our money in place and like the project was a go. Like we didn't go to them before, like, hey, you have a couple $100,000 you want to give us? It was like, all right, we're legit.
How do you get financing? You need a big director. You need a big actor. Well, how do you get those? Because the agents only wants like an offer. You know, again, it's my simplest answer that I always give is like, I just genuinely believe that truly great things will find their place. And I mean, I've just seen it happen too many times. Like, we had something, you know, again, where writers were like, look, I don't know that I want to write this for free, because like no one's going to finance this without, you know, having someone involved. So we went back to the producers and just laid that out. Like, look, this is how we feel. Like, the guys love it. They want to write this. But like, who's really just going to like finance this? And our guys aren't writing this for free. They're too big right now to write this for free. But they took that and said like, okay, so we've got some intrigue. So they came to us. We started that step. We got some intrigue. Then they did that. And they went to a director. Okay, now they've got some intrigue from that director. And again, that's the packaging. Like, we're sort of able to put that together. And then we still felt like, you know what, I don't know that that's going to be big enough to get financing for this kind of movie. It's like a really unique, specific film. Has no chance to get made usually, but with this package, it could like win an award. Like, there's something really special about it, kind of cool. We did it for like $10 million or something like that. It's a lot of like important people doing a little bit of a more artsy film. But again, like, because everyone was just really passionate about it, there's something about the story that, like, the way that we felt about it was the way that the actors, reps felt about it. Everyone just sort of felt about it, and before you knew it, everyone was kind of already in, and then it's like, okay, let's go find the financing.
Hollywood is not a meritocracy, unfortunately. Like, it really isn't. You know? Like, I mean, I agree with you. Great products and great product rises, the cream rises to the top. But it's not a meritocracy. Like, this is an industry that's built on nepotism and relationships, and you know, and that's just how it is, right? So you do your best work, and then you go and you meet the people you need to meet. But you know, a short film is what opens the doors for a lot of people. You know what I mean? If you go to Sundance every year, they have the Sundance Lab, and they have all these sorts of programs to nurture unrepped talent, young talent, right? And they get a ton of exposure, but you got to make something great first. You know, but like I said, when I'm on Facebook, I click a lot of shit. I click a lot of little YouTube video links and digital series, and it takes 6 minutes of my time to watch an episode of the digital series. And sometimes I fall in love with stuff. And I'll tell you one thing, especially in the era of like Vine, these 6-second videos, and these Instagram stars, people are, you know, there were like 25 minors in New Yorker magazine a couple months ago. Like, it's happening, but you have to go out and make the product. You can't take any excuses. You can't hold yourself back. Just go do it and have fun. Those are my thoughts.
Hi, I'm a filmmaking student, and from your side regarding representation, I know that what I've seen is with a lot of short films, having, say, an A-list star gives it a lot more gravitas in terms of just what we shoot for. From the pitching starts to, you know, to the different casting agencies, how does, you know, one go about that? I'm just going to give an example. One ideal would be, say, for example, I have this corporate thriller, and I know Adam Sandler's done comedies all his life, but this could be something different, you know, a different genre to showcase a different talent that he doesn't have. I mean, that he has that the world hasn't seen. So, other than that, how does one, you know, get a whole perfect fit to kind of get a meeting to?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question we all have too.
Okay.
You know, like it's like that's the business, right? That's the business that we work in. Is like I have something that I think is great for Matthew McConaughey, and I go, well, I came up with this great idea. Matthew McConaughey would be great in this, and everyone goes, yeah, obviously, like the guy who won the Oscar. Like everyone's saying that. So you have to figure out how am I going to get ahead of everyone and get this into someone's hands. Like again, but your job is no different than our job, and you just. I know that's not like the ideal answer that you're necessarily looking for, because it is very daunting. It's a very daunting industry. But the people who succeed are the people who figure it out, figure out a way to get it into someone's hands that has some connection, or if it's truly great, and that's again, I always will come back to that, is like you don't need to meet Adam Sandler. Like that's the other thing that I think people and everyone makes this mistake out here. Is like, oh my god, I have to know the head of Sony. There's a perfect Sony movie. I have to know the head of Sony. Or, oh my god, I want Adam Sandler. I gotta get to know Adam Sandler. That's not really what you have to do. You have to get to know someone who can help you out. That's what you need. You need someone who's going to eventually have some connection that's going to be able to help you out. And the amount of projects that I have that have succeeded, a lot of times they didn't just like come to me. They were sent, like one of my biggest clients, this is actually one of my favorite stories to share, like one of my biggest clients that make the most money, I found out about through an intern of mine. Like it's not like I needed to know the head of some huge corporation to sign these guys. An intern of mine that I had treated well years ago was like, by the way, you should know these guys. These guys are so smart, you are going to want to sign these guys at some point. I stayed on her. I was not looking above. I was looking at like, okay, someone who's coming out of school right now, she knows these guys and feels really confident about them. I put myself in a position to sign those guys rather than like trying to align myself with someone else. And then their script, again, I had these kind of visions of who it could be, but I didn't go to someone I didn't have a relationship here. I went to someone I have a relationship with here, or even here that, you know, is near here, and say like, okay, these are the ideas that I have. How can we figure out a way to get these people involved? And that's ultimately, that's what all of our tasks are.
Where are you in school at? New York Film Academy? What city are you from?
I'm from Victoria, so.
Oh, you're from South Africa? So, look at the alumni that come out of your program, right? Look at that Rolodex, right? Find out who might be a good fit for whatever it is you're doing. You have an organic in because you guys went to the same school. Who came out of Pretoria? Who came out of Johannesburg, Cape Town? Who came from your mother country, right? Say, what actor do you really always admire who's from South Africa? That's just an email away. And like I said, specificity matters. And they won't ignore your email. Like whoever is, people love students too. It's like everyone loves a wunderkind. You're young and energetic and ambitious, people want to help you out. That's why any company you go to, interns get more love than anybody else in the building. Love interns, you know what I mean? So you have a lot of things working in your favor. It's about finding out what your package is and how to leverage that to get what you want. If I was your manager, that would be my advice. You would sit down and you would look at who you are and what relationships you might have and how to make that work.
It's funny, that actually also went back to the second question. The funny thing about this industry, when you're not like in the inner circle of it, you think that everyone is like trying to hate, trying to say no, trying to like push you aside. Like no one gives me a chance. People say they don't want to find, new people to represent. The odd thing about this industry is I could not disagree more. I think this is probably one of the most welcoming, nice, supportive industries like around. And I know that sounds crazy, but I do believe it. Because everyone wants to find the next new thing. Everyone wants to find that. So if you can figure out some way, like, oh, this is someone that I have a connection with through high school or college or this camp or whatever it is, you're not trying to get here, you're trying to like build. You're trying to build your pieces. Like almost it's like in some ways like build your army. Like you build who your allies are. So that way eventually you're you're trying to conquer something, and you're like, hey, I'm not just going by myself. I've got all these people that I know that are my contacts, and that's when, foot in the door, that I randomly signed these guys that ended up being huge writers for me because of an intern that knew them in college. Like, that's how this industry actually works, in my opinion. Because everyone wants to say yes. Everyone's just so busy. Like, all I do is work. Literally all I do. It's so difficult. And, I have a fiance, and she's always like, how are you still working? You just got home from work and you're still working. So it's not like when people aren't getting back to you on a script or whatever it is, it's not because they're like, oh, I don't want to read this, I don't want to find a new person. Everyone wants to find a new person, but we're trying to go through so much material, so much content, because we're just trying to figure out what is the one I should be reading tonight. And you end up reading something, maybe 2 to 5 things.
Also, a lot of client stuff too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Client stuff, things out in the industry. People want to say yes. It's quite the opposite than what I think a lot of people assume.
There's an art to negotiation.
Yeah.
What your producers should do is say, hey, what's your objective here? Do you really want to make this happen? You know what our limitations are. Be realistic. So that should be the framework of the conversation. And if you can't work out a figure, talk about some equity, a couple points in the film. If the actor's big enough, offer them an incentive to get involved. But whoever your producer is, if you don't have the money, then the conversation's a non-starter. The manager you're negotiating with should know what your budget is, and not be coming in with some ridiculous figure. Or you should move on to the next piece of talent.
Then it becomes how passionate you are about it. We have a client who has like a $1.3 million quote, and someone wants to pay him way less than that. And we're negotiating, but ultimately, as good reps, we can't blow that deal. He truly loves that project. Maybe he would do it for that price. So you're trying to figure out what the best deal is you can get for him or her, but then ultimately, as a good representative, you are supposed to take that deal back and go, this is the deal, which you love.
What are my strengths, right? Are you blowing these casting directors away on these commercial auditions? Do you have the ability to be that specific with the type of commercials you want to go out for? Or do you need to, and by the way, very, very few people say, hey, I want to move to LA to become a commercial actor. Like, that's a platform to something bigger, right? So if the purpose is to pay the bills, and your reps are being like, hey, you got to go out for more than these nature drinks or this. I don't know. I'm not a vegan. I don't know vegan brand. If your reps saying you got to go out for stuff, strategically it makes sense for you to go up to broaden your scope. That would be my advice. But as far as things you have agency over, and also those are commercials. Like, you don't have agency over. Like, you're waiting for someone else to validate you. That's one of the most difficult things about being an actor or an actress. You went out on these auditions, you're waiting for someone else to say, okay, you can join the club. You can be a part of what I'm doing, right? If it's something that you're doing, whether it's a player, a one-woman player writing, or a feature film you're writing, or a sketch comedy show you're doing at like UCB or something, but if it's something it's your intellectual property, then you can be specific as you like. Just do what you love. But in that scenario, I don't think you should be that specific.
Well, I'll also just add, the more specific you want to be, again, it comes down to the definition of success.
Right.
That was my first answer, is if I have an actor that wants to do very specific material and they pass on everything, ultimately I might start feeling like, all right, is this the best use of my time? I'm trying all these things and they pass on everything. But for them, they might feel successful. They might feel like, you know what, I'm doing exactly how it's going to make me happy. This is the way that I'm going to be happy, is going out for these specific things this is my brand, and this makes me happy. And ultimately, like, so then it doesn't matter. You know, like, try and go out for the things that you specifically want. But then you only have yourself to blame. Writers, directors, everyone gets into this same thing too. I have a director, you know, who did a specific genre of a film that was very successful, but he wants to do a different type of genre now. And I'm like, not everyone's giving you that opportunity. They're giving you the opportunity that's similar to what you've already done. But if you want to be in this genre, you need to prove that to people that you can do that. But in the meantime, you might need to take a job that's not exactly what you want to take. But that's up to you. You know, like if you don't want to take those jobs, then you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I didn't direct anything all year.
I think it's,
You know, like you're just waiting for the right thing. Sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. But for him, it's okay because he's happy with that decision.
I personally love it when people have like a mission, a purpose, you know, something that's very near and dear to their heart, especially directors. Oftentimes when you get, because a lot of you guys, you're gonna get the chance, if you haven't already, you're gonna get the chance to make a feature film at some point. It's gonna happen. And when you get that opportunity to make that first feature, I know a lot of times people think, well, I don't want to screw this up. Like this is my calling card, right? So you play it kind of conservative, you play it safe. But in going, and I've been doing the festival circuit for 4 years now, Sundance, Toronto, Tribeca, et cetera, et cetera. The films that get people excited are the films, they may have holes in them, but the artist took a risk. You know, like, say what you want about Beast of the Southern Wild. It looks different than most everything else that was at Sundance that year. So when you get an opportunity, don't be afraid to be yourself creatively and infuse your personality in whatever that piece of art is. Because you don't want to make something that's going to have people yawn. You know, and that's talking about how to get people coming to you. Because reps, we will come to you guys. That's one of the quickest ways. Somebody's going to see something, it's going to resonate with them. They're going to be like, man, I love the way you shot this. You know, this is cool. I haven't seen anything like this year. And they'll come to you. So that was kind of a tangent, but I was thinking about it earlier. I can't.
Just lay it out.
Yeah.
Just lay it out.
I can't. I would be remiss if I didn't say that today. I've had this conversation with clients. You know, I've sent a script out to I'll send a script out all over town, or I'll send a short out all over town. And sometimes people just don't respond, and that's a very difficult thing to process when you put your heart into something. But if you're doing good work and exciting work, you're doing exactly what you need. Just get it out there in front of as many eyeballs as possible. Hopefully it does. The internet's the best thing possible, in my opinion.
I agree.
Because you know what happens sometimes? This happens like once a month. A short will go out from somebody, and all the agencies will pick it up, and all the management companies will pick it up. The next thing you know, that person will have 5 meetings lined up in 1 week. It's like, oh man, I saw this, I can't wait. I don't want anybody else to see this. You know, whereas if someone goes to a festival, the festivals are just much more passive. Those are prestige events. It's a passive experience.
But I think it is important to hit a few. You start maybe with a few festivals, but like again, like you're here. Like how many festivals do you need? Like I certainly, you know, when someone, so I'll tell you, like for me, when I see something on Vimeo or something online, and it's got all the list of the festivals, my eyes are like, okay, you went to a lot of festivals. I don't even look at them. Like okay, you went to a lot of festivals, cool.
Also,
I'm ready to watch. That's what's gonna matter. Do I like it?
Also, you gotta consider the utility of each festival. Like, if you do a bunch of like hokey festivals in Southern California that nobody's attending, that doesn't matter. You know, if it's not like a Sundance or a Toronto or a Cannes or something, then don't impede your project waiting around for some festival entry day. You know.
Just quickly before we go to another question, just because I was realizing like something that was a negative thing that I'm almost laughing at myself. But you know, obviously we've been very positive. The one thing that I think I would be remiss if I didn't say is like, again, we work in a very subjective industry, and the bad side of it is like, at some point you have to figure out like if your thing is not being passed around, if it's not hitting, there's something about it that's just not hitting. I'm not saying throw it out and never show it to another person again. Not at all what I'm saying. It only takes one. It takes one person to like something. That's all that really matters. But ultimately, if you're like, yeah, I'm waiting, a lot of people like this, I'm not getting meetings, but people say they like it. Well, I don't know, like, do people really like it? Like, they like it, they don't love it, you're not getting meetings, like, it sucks. But, like, at some point, you've got to be able to say, like, I'm moving on. And this thing exists, and it's out there, and I hope someone at some point reads this script of mine from a while ago, or watches this short film of mine from a while ago, and gets excited about it. But something I say to like all my clients is the second you finish that script and give it to me, consider it dead. Consider that nothing will ever happen to this. And I don't say that to put my clients down. I say it in like it's a very understanding relationship of like, we are going to do everything we can to get something going with it. But if you and your mindset stay connected to this thing as like something has got to happen with this, you're not allowing yourself as a creator to move on to the next thing. And that's what you need to be doing, so that when we're doing our job, trying to get it out there and trying to sell it, hopefully when someone actually likes it, you're walking into that meeting being like, oh my God, yeah, thank you so much for liking it. I'm actually like already like midway through my next thing. And that's where you need to be in your mindset, rather than like walking in and they're like, oh, what have you been doing? Like I'm so sorry, I've been busy. I got this script like a month ago, but I haven't had a chance until now. And I read it and loved it. What have you been doing? You're like, yeah, I've just been waiting. I've just been waiting for someone to, like you, to like it. It's like, really? You've just been sitting around waiting? Like, we keep moving. This industry is all about keeping on moving.
As a creator, you gotta keep creating. It's funny, like, because you can do a lot of stuff that's very near and dear to you, and you think it's great, and maybe like a couple people around you think it's great, but it doesn't get any traction. And then the minute you have some sort of success, people will go back and be like, oh, what else do you got? You can show them that same thing from a couple of years ago that nobody responded to, but love it. Like when Louis C.K. had Louis, like the show Louis, he went back and sold like 2 or 3 old projects that he wrote 10 years ago to major networks. They're like, oh, we just want to be in business with you. It's like, oh, well, here's this shit I showed you 2 years ago. You like it now? They're like, yes, we love it. And it's our mission to tell the stories of human experience, the human experiences of people who are underserved and underrepresented on screen. Whether it's women, people of color, people of alternative sexuality. Like that mission is very near and dear to my heart and my partner's heart.
So I'm not venting, I'm actually trying to get you to discuss those sorts of things.
So let me finish. So one of our clients, this past Sundance, we had a film called Dear White People that Lionsgate is distributing. We represent the producer Lena Waithe, who just made Variety's 10 Comics to Watch for 2014. We just fielded 3 blind television offers for her. She's writing on Bones on Fox. She's doing very well. And that project, the film's called Dear White People. It's a very racially charged project. And we didn't say no for an answer, so we put a scissor trailer up online. We found the right producer. It was a very long process, but we got that story told. My favorite film from last year was Fruitvale Station. It's an excellent movie. Ryan Coogler's a great guy. But I go to a lot of black film festivals. Unfortunately, not all the films are that great. You know what I mean? So
You can say that in what?
you could say that the Napa Valley Film Festival. And those films aren't seeing the light of day either, right? So I think for us there's a double standard. It's doubly hard as a woman or a black person or Latino or an Asian. Like the Asians are severely underrepresented in this industry. Unless it's genre stuff or action stuff. But there was a pilot this year that made it to a series called Fresh Off the Boat. What a backhanded compliment. So I think when you are the other in this historically homogenous industry, you you really have to make sure that whatever it is you're doing is impeccable. Like you gotta be above reproach, and it's unfortunate. I don't think that's gonna be the case forever, at least I hope not. But it hurts me to see films like Get On Up that don't address James Brown's revolutionary aspects, or the fact that he was a beacon of Black pride for many a decade. He's the blackest entertainer of all time. Doesn't get much blacker than James Brown, right? So that hurts me, and I think rather than it's a very timely conversation, but we just have to do really great work, and we can't put out anything that's subpar. They want us to fail. I feel like I'm talking to you personally in a room full of spectators, but those are my thoughts as a Black man. You have to do great work. One of our clients, Frances Bedomo, is wrapping up Columbia Film School. She was recently named Filmmaker Magazine's 25 Filmmakers to Watch for this year. And the last 2 years at Sundance, she had short films. One of them is called Bone Shaker, starring Provinciale Wallace, who's going to be Annie. The new movie that's coming out this Christmas. And her other film was called Afronauts, and it was shot in black and white, and she shot it in Africa. And it's really, really artsy, really, really beautiful. But she did great work, on a low budget. She's just a gifted filmmaker, and people are clamoring over her. Unfortunately, it's tough for us. And that goes for executives too. I don't know very many Black managers. I can count the Black agents in town on 2 hands. They did great aids, 3-letter agencies: UTA, WB, ICM, CIA. So there's a huge diversity problem. But that's a whole nother panel for a whole different day.
I was just gonna say, and then there's other questions, but I just think this is the wrong panel for it because we're not the decision makers. Like, I've never looked at a script or a film and thought, what does this person look like? To be honest, I don't even look at the person's name usually. I don't even look at the title usually. I just start reading. I don't care. I just want to know, do I like the film? Do I like the script? Am I into this? Gut instinct. That's what we talked about. That's all I care about. So I certainly don't have a bunch of white males as my clients. Without a doubt, I don't.
One of my best friends is Black. He reps him. Cool Black guy.
So my point being is that the question is more about when we're sending clients in to direct a film or write a film, and they might be Chinese or any thing that's not white male. We have female directors. We have tons of female comedy writers. All these things. I don't know. I just don't know anyone in my company that ever thinks about that. On the representation side, it's just not even something that would ever come up. And sure, it gets asked at a lot of panels, and people ask me not just diversity, but also why are there no female directors out there? And I don't know the answer because we're trying to sell them. So the answer is, or the question is more for the buyers to say, hey, why are there not more of this? Why are there not more of this? This type of person doing this, whatever it is. Because, and maybe I am blind to it, but because we don't, that's why I was smiling. It literally wouldn't even come into my mind of what someone looks like or where someone lives. I have a client in South Africa, and I'm at times, what am I doing representing this guy? He's not going to go into any meetings. He hasn't come to LA once. He can't go into any meetings because he's always I can't travel there. I'm just going to write from here. I'm going to do my thing here. And then I always just look at the page and go, yeah, cool. I love this guy's script.
Experience dictates art. So I just love working with people who have interesting stories and something to say. So I definitely, there's no bias, as far as selectivity, but I definitely love hearing about unique individuals. And I love pitching that stuff too.
Yeah, huge.
Love pitching that stuff.
By the way, I'll just say very quickly, that's what a meeting is really about. When someone comes in, it doesn't really have a color whole backstory, you're just kind of like, okay, like, man, do I love this thing to another level? Because when this person goes to a meeting, they're really only going to talk about this script or this movie because they don't really have a lot in their background that's like that interesting. Whereas like that guy from South Africa, he's in like the diamond business and he's in like just like crazy stuff, and he's lived in like all these places, and I was like, whew, it's an amazing meeting. What a background. He's been everywhere. That's interesting. Everyone in this town passes around all the nickel winners, and everyone like quickly tries to read those scripts.
Right.
But if you're like, if you say I was a quarterfinalist or a semifinalist or whatever it is, you're basically saying like, hey, I was in the nickels, like I did really well. I didn't win, but I did really well. You know, I'm a writer you should know. And again, then it just comes down to like, okay, like maybe we should read, and maybe we can get to read a few pages. So it's not like that's all I was trying to say with the challenging. It's like it doesn't automatically get you read or not
Sure,
get you read.
no,
It's sort
that-
of like a
sure.
yeah, cool. It's better than nothing. It's better than neutral.
A close friend of mine, Franklin Leonard, also created the Blacklist. Does anybody put their scripts on blacklist.com? No? It's a great resource. It's a really great resource. You should Google it and check it out. That's another way to get exposure. Because there have been more and more success stories for people, you know, interacting with that site and all the opportunities it provides.
Do you guys actually go through that? Because I've thought about that and haven't. Like, what is your opinion of that in terms of like, do you actually go and read that stuff, or is that more like a producer going and who actually goes through that, and why is it actually beneficial to be on that?
If someone wrote me and said, well, first of all, there are readers.
Sure.
There's a team of readers who work for the site,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then industry people can write in and vote as well, right? It's like, hey, I read this. I want to go. I know it's on blacklist.com. I'm going to vote on it. Just show a little love, right? If something's highly rated, sure, that's going to resonate with me. I'm not going out of my way just picking random scripts off the blacklist to read.
Sure.
But yeah.
And by the way, and I'll just say like just another thing to like this conversation is like, and again it goes back to that gut instinct thing. It's like there's nothing I hate more about this town than how reactive it is.
And how what?
We live in a very reactive industry. It's very frustrating. So when you say like, does it matter if I'm on the blacklist? Does it matter if I am a nickel semifinalist or something? To me, this is my own personal feeling. I don't really care because I want to know. And I'm not saying I don't care. Go away from me. I don't want to know that. It's more, I don't care what they thought. I care what I think.
Sure.
So it sparks my interest just to know that you emailed me, or that someone emailed me about you and said, hey, he's a nickel semifinalist. I just care that like, okay, you're someone that is now in my, you know, in the ether near me. So I'm wondering, is this someone I should know? But it's more about my own gut instinct of like, am I into what he's selling, what his idea is? Do I read a few pages? Am I into that? Once I'm reading the script, if you get me to read the script, I've already forgotten about the nickel or any of that other stuff. Because every year we all read all the nickel stuff, and like, it's not like every single nickel script that even wins is like the best script. It's all so subjective.
Yeah.
I've had so many scripts that people think are bad or, you know, didn't get on the blacklist or didn't get in the nickel or whatever it was, it ended up being one of my hotter scripts. It's just, you have to truly believe in something, and ultimately, again, I go back to that, is like, if you truly believe in something, you will figure out a way to make others believe it.
I think we have time for one more question.
Yeah, please. Yes, I have a question because I am new in Los Angeles. I just moved from Europe, from
Where's the
Spain.
country?
Spain. Spain. I'm a writer director, and my question is because I have been told that I need an agent to work in here, and if I
To live here, you mean?
to
Like for visa or just?
yes, no, for visa, for working, for everything. And my question is, if I don't have right now a script, I have past works, I made a feature that was premiered at the San Sebastian International Film Festival, and it is now on Netflix. I have a music video here. It was broadcast on MTV Spain, and I have a resume, but I don't have a current project to send you for you to read it. So my question is, should I wait to have a script to send to the agents, or they are not going to read my email if there is nothing new to read in the email? Did I explain myself?
Yeah, we got it.
It sounds like you've done a lot, right?
Yes.
So you just, if you're sending someone an email with your package, and that's what we call just your package, you highlight all of the cool things you've done. So if you have a music video on MTV Spain or shorts on YouTube, throw the YouTube link in there.
Yes.
If you directed a feature film in Spain,
Yes.
you just put it on a video link, send that to people. Like, that's more than enough.
Okay.
You have everything you need.
Okay, because
Anyone who tells you that, like, yo, you need to write another script for me now, they're just jerking you along. Like,
what?
But by the way, it also goes, again, to one of those first questions of like, ultimately, you might not get someone to represent you in that moment, but that's okay. Send it out there, because the worst thing that happens is when you do have something new, if you did not get represented already, then you contact those same people. And you're like, hey, not sure if you ever got a chance to watch my video that I did really well with, but now I've got this script that I'm also doing well with, and that's when you start being like, wow, I'm like doing a few things. I'm juggling a few things in the air. Like, I've got some stuff going on, and someone's got to look at that and recognize that.
We have to write it up, so
Yep.
just thank you very much.